Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight, or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. This one is kind of a contemporary, but it's got some mystical, sci-fi, speculative elements, so it ought to be fun to talk about. Alright, it's also the first book in a duology, so just keeping that in mind. I look forward to reading the second one because I loved this first one. So, also it's an indie book, so if you want to support an indie author, this one's a good one. Alright, so the book is called Periphery by A. DaSilva. Yeah, and like originally I found Periphery because I think it was through social media, yeah, because the author, A. DaSilva, she's really personable online, and so I just stumbled across her profile, I believe, or maybe I don't remember actually if she found, anyway, one way or another, I found her book, and it wasn't at my library yet, so I requested it, and it came in, a few weeks ago, and so I put a request for it, and it looked like apparently a few other people were interested in it too, so I'm super happy that it's getting interest in my library as well as, not just me, But, yeah, I got to read it on Libby, so I'm, super pleased with that. Now I have to wait for my library to get the second book. Either that or I might just buy it, because I feel a little more inclined to, buy the second book after I know, that I vibe with the author's writing, But we'll see. I still have a lot of books that are currently coming in through the library, and I have to keep, putting them on hold, waiting a little more, delaying the hold, because I didn't expect them all to come in at once, and they did, so I think I'm probably going to read those a little bit first, but, yeah, that's where I am at in terms of my book readingness right now, and, yeah, I think this book came at a really good time, too, because I'd started really getting back into exercising. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I had surgery on my nose, which has changed my life. I didn't realize that I was being held back so much by my own body in athletics because I couldn't breathe properly, and so now I can exercise more, and I'm just feeling better, more rejuvenated. My sleep is steadily improving, and my body just feels stronger, And I think while reading this book, that felt particularly good, because it just, I don't know, there's something about reading a character who exercises and exercising or improving my own exercise regimen at the same time that feels good, and the main character jogs, so I'm and there was a really cute scene with the love interest while they were jogging, so it just, yeah, that kind of thing is motivating in stories, so yeah, that's alright. Let me actually get into the premise now instead of talking vaguely about it, right? So Periphery. Alright, so this story takes place 4 years after Charlotte. Charlotte is our main character. This story takes place 4 years after a car accident. It left her with quite a few scars, and it also left her widowed. She was originally married to Jared, this guy who was a military guy. His father-in-law doesn't approve of them, but, he deals because they're married, and, this car accident really changes her life. Charlotte is she deals with survivor's guilt, and she also deals with the literal scars, on her body, and just trying to find a steady routine in her life that makes her feel good and kind of gets rid of this harpy inside her head. I think that's how she describes it, this harpy that tries to remind her all the time of things she should feel guilty for. And so, yeah, that's kind of what Charlotte's life looks like right now. She has a few friends, you know, and she's, I should clarify, she's an adult, by the way. I sometimes talk about young adult books as well, and so I wanted to just make sure that you knew. She's an adult, and she has a pretty steady job, you know. She works at it's a clinic on, like, a military site, if I remember right. So she's pretty connected with, you know, people in the military, and I really liked also the relationships that she had it just felt something about it felt very particular to that sort of bond that you get between military families, that I feel like I didn't really have super much, but every so often it slips through when my dad, he's a veteran Air Force, whenever, like, he bonds with somebody else, family member or I mean, you know, extended family member, or somebody else who was in the military and is liberal, I'll just say that, you know, is good with basic human rights for everybody, that kind of thing. It feels nice to have that particular bond of, there's just there's a connection there that I don't know how to explain fully, and I think this was the first book that really reminded me, like, oh yeah, that exists, that feeling of just that understanding, between families who have people in the military, you know, or had, you know, people who served. So it's, yeah, but yeah, that's kind of her relationships are largely, like, based in work. So the friends she has at work, and also, like, she has a friend she's connected to who's, like, a nearby neighbor, and she doesn't really have many people, like, connected to her husband's side of the family, ex-husband, deceased husband's side of the family. Yeah, again, she doesn't like her father-in-law because he never really approved of her. But yeah, so she's working, she has a sort of stable routine about things, but after the accident, she noticed that she's suddenly, like, super in tune with the universe in terms of physics and understanding. Like, right after she woke up from the car accident, she drew out all of the equations and all of her notes from just her brief memory of what she witnessed, and she drew out what happened at the car scene, even, like, after she would have been unconscious. She just knew from how hard the car was hit and just all of that. So she has a lot of, well, she just has a lot of scientific understanding now about how things move about in the universe and such. And yeah, there's that. Plus, trying to think how else to describe. I don't want to talk too much about, like, the later events of the book, even though those are super important and I think probably set up a lot of the second book, but I don't really want to give away how the science fiction-y side of the book works. I just kind of want to briefly mention it, but let you read to the part where it actually describes it more, in case you're interested in, you know, reading the book. I don't want to spoil that. So let me just keep going Charlotte, yeah, she's just living her life, and she isn't really much about public spaces. She'd prefer like a quiet time inside watching television, but some of her friends convince her, to go out, I think to a club, and there she meets somebody who, I won't describe the scene, I'll let you read it. She meets somebody, and she doesn't think much of it. She doesn't think, oh, we'll see each other again. It was just like a cute little moment. But then they do see each other again because he is working on like construction down the street from her. So now they can see each other practically every day. And his name is Simon. And just one thing after another, and they just encounter each other more, and they realize it feels like they've met before. They feel so in tune with each other, and just have like a really strong connection up front, and it's super cute. I really liked going back to the jogging scene, just the way that the two of them interact, their banter, the way they mess with each other a little bit, like when they were jogging, Charlotte noticed, like, it took her a minute to notice that Simon was messing with her by going faster and faster, and she kept, like, trying to keep up with him, and just the moment of realization was silly and lovely and goofy, and just, like, little things like that, I don't know, that just really made it feel, I don't know, I'm making a hand gesture that I think, like, it encapsulates, maybe I'm pronouncing it right, I don't know, I feel like that, those kind of moments were really cute. But yeah, while there's all this cuteness going on, though, there's also sort of this undertone of there's something more to Simon that he's not telling Charlotte, and he is overall green flags, like he respects consent, he is very, he's concerned for Charlotte, but he doesn't devalue her opinions or her desires or her wants or needs or anything, and he's looking out for her, while trying not to be creepy about it, but yeah, he genuinely does care for her, and he's trying to express it in positive ways, and he really does listen to her as well. He loves her art, like the artwork that she does, the paintings, and like he takes her to a place that reminded him of one of her paintings. Like, he really listens to her, and she really finds comfort with him. So it's just this beautiful bond that is even, like, it's deepened by how they both went through, like, near-death incidents, like some really close calls. With Charlotte, it was, the car accident, and with Simon, he was in the military, is I actually don't remember, I'm sorry, but he definitely was deployed in the military, and that's where he had an accident that nearly killed him. And yeah, he's recovered since, but it left scars on him, and mentally and physically. So they both had that same sort of experience that made them view life differently, and they both came back kind of different. And with Charlotte, she has this stronger understanding of the universe, with like being able to spit out equations based on just looking at things and going, this is what is happening in written format, while Simon, I think his thing was more of an intuitive kind of a response, if I remember right. I'm not fully sure I understood that, and maybe I'm not supposed to yet. maybe I'll just have to reread and see if it was something that it was just a matter of like the foreshadowing made me not entirely know. Yeah, I don't know, I'll go back and see, because I was focused on other stuff that was going on in the plot when he said that. But yeah, so they both came back changed, and they both feel a really strong connection to each other. And I mean, that's really, like, that's the heart of the story, their connection. I feel silly now, I just realized, I think I said at the beginning it's like contemporary and speculative. I didn't mention it's romance. It's romance, it's about the two of them, primarily, and how, how do I describe without, okay, well, I'll at least say that the story involves the multiverse, so it is a multiverse story, and I like this story's take on it, and it, like, the relationship between, like, death and the multiverse, and connecting with yourself, and other people. I really liked this story's take on that. I won't explain it, because I feel like that's better read, but just as a heads up, that's part of the science fiction element of it, and that also ties back into what I was saying about Simon, that I don't think I completely finished that thought, is that he has sort of something hidden about him, right? It has to do with his work. That's what kind of Charlotte gleans, And I think that's probably as much as I can say about it without going into spoiler territory. But you can kind of gauge near the beginning there's something about his work that he's not telling Charlotte, and maybe it would be good to know, maybe good to find out. She overall trusts him, but there's still that hidden element that she would want to know. And so their relationship throughout the book is really what carries the story, but the science fiction, I think, elevates the romance in a way that's, I don't know, it feels really special, because it's, while I love science fiction, anything, I especially love whenever it's supporting something on another level, because this could be a contemporary romance, or, I mean, not really, the plot would be entirely different. I think I could see Charlotte and Simon as characters in a contemporary romance. I could see them having a very strong bond and being, without the science fiction element. But the science fiction element really does enhance the meaning of their romance, and their connection. And so I love that. I guess that's I kind of want to elaborate, because I feel like I'm not fully explaining that, but I think that's probably the best I'm gonna get out of me and my sleepy exposition, I guess. Yeah. So is that all of, like, I guess I can say stuff about their past comes up, both of them, both Charlotte and Simon. Stuff about their past comes up, and that affects their future. And there's action. I just realized I meant that as, like, action story, but there's also sex, in case that's helpful to know. And there's, what else? Let me check my notes, I gotta consult that. Wow, I actually missed a lot of things in my notes today. It's okay, I'll get to it. What else? Okay, where do I want to start? Alright, well, let's talk about the cast a little bit. Actually, let's talk Charlotte in particular, because I really like seeing the story through her perspective. It was very easy to, like, follow her reasoning, and how, like, she faced a near-death experience. She doesn't want to hurt or kill anybody, even those who are, like like, she doesn't want to kill anybody, even when it would say be more convenient to, for the sake of protecting those she loves. Because she really, I mean, she's been around soldiers quite a bit, and she experienced a near-death experience, and like everything with the car accident, her husband, you know, just all of that creates this, it fuels her psyche of how she really wants to protect those she cares about, especially those she manages to let in. But she doesn't want to, I mean, she still doesn't want death imposed on anyone, you know? Like, even the antagonists who show up, you know? Again, I won't get into that too much, I'll just say there are antagonists, and, yeah. So, that's, yeah, I really liked Charlotte, and I was rooting for her quite a bit too, in how throughout the whole book, I mean, of course the romance is super compelling, but her personal journey of how she deconstructs her mindsets about her grief, about her survivor's guilt, about her past, about even like who her husband was, because at the beginning of the book I was kind of a little uncertain on like how exactly Jared was, but throughout the book, in like how she describes him in flashbacks and everything, I start realizing, oh, Jared's maybe not the best guy. So I mean, not that I'm wishing death on anyone, even fictionally, but it probably was a little better for her. Well, okay, I'm sorry, that sounds insensitive. Jared being out of her life is better for her. Now, the way that it happened, though, unfortunately, did impact her quite a bit negatively. So it's this weird balance of like she's dealing with guilt, but also trying to more so, you know, accept or not gloss over the negative aspects of Jared's memory, you know. And coming to terms with surviving and realizing that she doesn't necessarily want this routine that she built for herself. She wants more. She wants to let other people in again more than she has. And that's just, it's a really amazing journey to see. Yeah. So, just all of that. And then plus also I love that she's a woman in STEM, you know? Also the author, like, that's so cool. But yeah, the main character having such a deep level of understanding about, like, physics and the universe and things. And at the same time, you know, working, treating patients. I'm gonna be honest, I think it said near the beginning of the book exactly what her position was, but I don't remember if she is a doctor or a nurse or a different medical professional. So that's why I'm kind of talking vaguely about she works at a clinic. But she does, you know, she treats patients. So she has medical field knowledge, and that's super cool. I have a friend in med school. I can't imagine how hard that is to learn all of that over the period of time that you have to learn it. You ironically get very little sleep, considering you are becoming a medical health professional. Just doesn't seem very healthy to me. Anyhow, but it's just, it takes a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and just seeing, you know, representation of a woman in STEM in a book. 100% gonna support that. I love that. So, yeah, that was really cool. And reading about some of like the medical knowledge in there too, that was like sprinkled in there. I looked up a few things and I was going, oh, I didn't know that. Like with the I don't remember what it's called, but sometimes when someone goes into cardiac arrest and you don't say have a defibrillator, AED, that thing, the thing that should, resuscitate the patient by as such. I think it's in. I'm not a medical person. I'm sorry. I need to take that class again. Apparently, I think my certification ran out, but I know how to use the device. I just don't know the specifics of how it works. A shock goes, theoretically helps reset the heartbeat to the correct pulse. So if the heartbeat is out of sync of what it's supposed to be, or if it's stopped completely, you use that to resuscitate if you can. And that's where compressions or chest compressions come in as well, which in media it's pretty much always depicted wrong. It just is. In this book, though, I appreciated that Charlotte was thinking through okay, I don't have access to a defibrillator. I'm hoping that's correct. I don't have access to that, so what can I do? And just her problem solving with her medical knowledge was really cool. So yeah, now I want to read more stuff like that and go oh, that's neat, I didn't know that. And then I can talk to my med school friend about it, and he'll be yeah, blah 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 about all these things that I don't know, reminding me, yes, I know, you go to med school. To be fair, that's all he spends his time doing. There's not much he can do about it. He's got to study. But yeah. What else, though? I think that was kind of... did I talk about... I already talked about Simon a little bit in terms of, consent and how he listens to her quite a bit. I loved their dynamic. And I really, really loved how the antagonist of the book... Well, one of the antagonists, I should say. But you'll know who I'm talking about when you read it. If you read it, again, I'm just talking about the book, but if you happen to read it, you'll know who I'm talking about. This antagonist is the perfect foil to Simon in terms of how they treat Charlotte. Simon genuinely caring about her, this other person wanting to use her, and this other person not caring about her wants or needs or desires, and not caring about her consent, and just it's completely different, and so it was just I got so irritated on Charlotte's behalf because of that antagonist. So no, and I know no, I shouldn't say that because that could be spoilery, but this antagonist had me peeved. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, I just remembered this antagonist too, I think actually Charlotte might have OCD as well, which I forgot to put in my notes as part of my Instagram review and such, because I really liked seeing that represented as well, the way that Charlotte counts a lot to stabilize herself and her psyche and everything, being one of the main things that I noticed as part of that. And I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sure whether that was more OCD or if that was a result of her near-death experience, the calculation stuff. I didn't know if it was that or that. But from the way that it's described, I think it's actually indicated that she had that before the car accident. So not related to the numbers thing, or to the equations, knowing how to understand the universe in physics thing. And so that's really cool. I actually don't know if I've read a book with an OCD main character yet. Or until now, maybe. Because also, to be clear, the antagonist said OCD, so I don't actually know if Charlotte was diagnosed in the book or identifies with the term at all, or if it was more like a taunt, like an ableist sort of taunt or something from the antagonist. But I think it kind of maybe checks out with some of the other symptoms that were in the book. So I don't know. Yeah. My mom has OCD, and I identify with a lot of the symptoms that she has. I have a lot of the symptoms she has. I don't know if I have OCD as well. I have not been tested for that. I don't know. Yeah. But the symptoms that I do have are quite irksome. So I completely understand people with OCD finding those specific symptoms irksome. But also it's also kind of, part of a different way of thinking or feeling, so it depends on the person, I think, and the symptom, on like how bothersome it is versus how much it's just, an accommodated part of their life at this point, But with Charlotte, I feel like some of it felt like kind of, like she had the coping mechanisms for it, like the counting to help stabilize her anxiety, kind of a thing. And yeah, just whenever she's not able to like keep a steady rhythm of counting, it makes her feel uneasy, So I don't know. I think I will have to read this again actually at some point to try to gauge that a little better, to see if that was stating that Charlotte has OCD, or if it was just like a ableist taunt from the antagonist, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. And since I just mentioned the antagonist, I also wanted to come back to another point that I had in my notes, about the cast. Like, I liked how there was a balance in the cast of people who supported Charlotte and also those who wanted to use her. And it was the line was a little blurry sometimes on which side a person was on of those two groups, and I was a little unsure on like who to trust in some cases as well. And so that added an extra layer of intrigue because of the later conflict in the book. I wasn't sure if we could completely trust some of those people, or some of the cast. And so, yeah, a little bit of extra, like, intrigue, I guess, is actually that's the word. So, I already said it, but I'll say it again. Yeah. And just, I think it was super cool, yeah. And I'm really curious to see where the second book goes, because I can definitely see it opening up more from where the ending left, but the ending is definitely satisfying. Yeah, I'd say it was a satisfying ending, so if you're worried about there being, like, too much of a cliffhanger, well, actually, regardless, the book 2 is out, so you can always just read the second book. But it's, yeah, if you're worried about it not being, like, a satisfying ending, it is a satisfying ending. And, yeah, I think it opens up enough for book 2, though, for me to start speculating on what might happen, and I'm curious to see what directions the book goes. Yeah, and I believe that's called the bleed-through effect. The second one is called that, I believe. So, yeah. Okay, I think that is all of my notes, actually. It's just, yeah, so many good emotions, I think, and there was enough angst to, like, make me feel about putting the book down, In fact, I think I was actually kind of a little bit late for my shift, for my work shift at one point, because I just kept reading. I really needed to reach the end of the chapter, and it was still, I was like, I was around the 65% or 70% of the book, through the book mark, and it was getting to a point where I was going, I don't want to put this book down. And so I read the last part of the book in one sitting, because I wanted to know the ending. So, especially after that specific chapter, that chapter had a lot of reveals in it, and it just happened to be the chapter I read right before I was supposed to start getting ready to go to work, and instead I kept reading. But it was worth it. It left me emotionally satisfied after I finished the chapter, and finished the book. But yeah. So yeah. Alright, so again, that is Periphery by A.A. DaSilva. And let me go ahead and put the cover here. I forgot the word for a second. Yeah. Okay. Is that good? Have you seen enough? Alright. You can always look at the thumbnail of the video for more. Or look up the book. That's probably the easiest way to get a higher definition version of the cover anyhow. Anyway though, thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener. And I hope that wherever you go next, or whatever you do next, it is relaxing, fun, and or fulfilling.